"No clothes. No problem, I'll keep you warm." This alien girl's strange and unexpected offer. The stars stretched across the black sky like tiny diamonds. In the emptiness of space, Ethan Hale gripped the controls of his small salvage ship, the Wanderer. He had been on countless missions before, but none quite like this one. The coordinates led him to a planet far beyond known space, a frozen, icy world no one had dared to explore. Reports from previous explorers were vague and most had never returned. Ethan didn't believe in superstition. He believed in tools, skill, and determination. The ship shuddered violently as it passed through the outer atmosphere. He adjusted the thrusters, fighting the turbulence. The temperature gauges plummeted and alarms rang, but Ethan ignored them. He was used to danger. Still, he couldn't shake a sense of unease. The icy winds outside seemed almost alive, whipping against the hull with a force that felt unnatural. Suddenly, a sharp jolt knocked him sideways. The ship's controls sparked and the lights flickered. Ethan fought to stabilize the vessel, but it was too late. The hull groaned and cracked, and alarms screamed in his ears. With a final, violent shake, the Wanderer collided with the planet's frozen surface. The ship skidded across the ice before coming to a halt, half buried in snow. Ethan struggled to open his eyes. The cockpit was twisted and cold, the metal biting at his fingers. Smoke rose from the damaged engines, curling into the freezing air. He checked his suit, partially torn, power nearly drained. Survival now wasn't about skill or bravery. It was about enduring the cold. And the cold was relentless. He stumbled out of the wreck, each step sinking into snow that felt endless. The wind cut through him like icy knives. Even with the limited insulation of his suit, his body shivered uncontrollably. He searched for shelter, but the horizon offered nothing but white, jagged peaks and rolling snowdrifts. The sun, a pale, distant circle, offered no warmth. As Ethan tripped over a hidden ridge, he caught movement from the corner of his eye. Something or someone was watching. At first he thought it was a trick of the wind or the glittering ice, but the movement repeated. He froze, heart pounding, scanning the whiteness. Two small points of light reflected from the distance like eyes. "Who's there?" he called, his voice cracking from the cold. The wind swallowed his words. The lights didn't disappear. Ethan instinctively reached for the last functional tool in his belt, a small plasma cutter. If it was a predator, he had to defend himself. But as the creature, or person, came closer, the outline became visible. It wasn't like anything he had seen. The being was small, barely 5 feet tall, with skin that shimmered faintly blue in the snow. Its eyes glowed softly, warm and golden. Unlike him, it seemed completely unaffected by the freezing wind. It moved with a grace that was alien and impossible. Ethan realized it wasn't hostile, at least not yet. The being stopped a few meters away, tilting its head curiously. Its gaze was intense but not threatening. Then, in a voice that was melodic and strange, it spoke. "You are cold. You will not survive much longer like this." Ethan stared, unsure if he had imagined it. Who are you?" he asked, his teeth chattering. "Are you human?" The being laughed softly, a sound like wind through chimes. "No, I am Lyra, and you are weak in this cold." Ethan swallowed. I know, my suit is damaged, I don't have heat. I'm not sure I can last the night." Lyra stepped closer, and Ethan felt something strange, warmth, not from fire or electronics, but from her presence. The icy wind seemed to bend around her, shielding him from the worst of it. He blinked, amazed. "You are fragile, but you have survived until now. That is unusual," she said, her glowing eyes scanning him carefully. "I can help. I can keep you warm." Ethan's mind raced. This was an alien planet. He was thousands of light years from any help. He had trained for emergencies, but he had never imagined this. How would you do that?" he asked. Lyra smiled faintly. "My body produces warmth. It can extend to others. You must trust me." Ethan hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution. Could he trust a stranger, an alien being, who claimed she could keep him alive. But the wind cut sharper now, biting through his damaged suit. Every second he lingered in doubt risked death. His mind raced, calculating, survival over suspicion. I don't have a choice, do I? He said. Correct, Lyra replied simply. She held out her hand. Come, we will move where it is safer. Ethan took her hand, feeling warmth flood through his numb fingers. The cold retreated from his skin, replaced by a gentle heat that made him shiver with relief. For the first time since the crash, he could move without his limbs locking from frostbite. Lyra led him across the icy terrain. Her movements were effortless, as if the planet itself bent to her will. Ethan struggled to keep up, but the warmth she provided gave him strength. Snow crunched underfoot, and the wind still roared, but the world seemed less hostile. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a natural ice cave. The entrance was jagged, but inside the air was calmer, sheltered from the storm. Ethan collapsed against the wall, exhausted. Lyra knelt beside him, still radiating warmth. You are lucky, she said, studying him. Many of your kind would have died before reaching this place. Ethan shook his head weakly. I don't feel lucky, I feel alive, thanks to you. Lyra tilted her head. Your species survives not by strength alone, by endurance, by cleverness. That is why you are here. Ethan managed a small smile. He had spent his life fixing ships, calculating risks, surviving impossible situations. But he had never felt so powerless and so grateful. As night fell, the storm outside intensified. Snow pounded the entrance of the cave, and icy winds howled like ancient spirits. Inside, Ethan felt warmth he hadn't known in hours, thanks to Lyra. He shivered not from cold but from amazement. This being, so alien and strange, had saved him. Will you stay? He asked, hesitant. I mean, until the storm ends. Lyra's golden eyes met his. Yes, you will need warmth until your body recovers. Then we will see what you can do here. Humans are interesting. Ethan swallowed. He had a long road ahead, injured, stranded, and dependent on an alien being whose abilities defied all logic. But for the first time since his crash, hope flickered inside him. Outside, the storm raged on, painting the ice in wild patterns. Inside, a human and an alien sat side by side, bound by survival. The night was long, but Ethan had a new ally, and that meant he had a chance. And as he drifted into a fitful sleep, he realized something remarkable. For all the vastness of space, for all the dangers of the universe, humans were still capable of surviving and inspiring even the most alien of beings. The icy winds had calmed slightly by morning, leaving a sparkling layer of frost over the cave entrance. Ethan awoke slowly, feeling the warmth Lyra had provided still clinging to him like a protective blanket. His body was stiff, muscles aching from the cold and the crash, but he was alive. That thought alone made every pain worth enduring. Lyra sat across from him, her eyes glowing softly. She observed him silently, her head tilting slightly as if studying a fascinating creature. Ethan swallowed, still uncertain about how to act. The alien world was strange, its rules and life forms unlike anything he had ever seen. And yet he could feel that Lyra wasn't dangerous, at least not in the way predators were. Good morning, he said, his voice rough. You didn't leave me last night. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Why would I leave? You are weak. The cold would have claimed you. Ethan shook his head, trying to find words that made sense. I suppose you're right. You saved my life. I did, she replied simply, but not because I am kind. Because it is how I survive, how my people survive. Ethan frowned, intrigued. Your people, there are more like you. Yes, she said, rising to her feet. She moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid, each step silent on the icy cave floor. They live here in the ice. We are adapted to this cold. Your body cannot withstand what we can, but you have other strengths. Ethan tried to imagine that. Her body radiated heat naturally, able to endure the deadly cold without technology or fire. Humans relied on machines, suits, and shields, but she had none. It was impossible and yet real. "What strengths?" he asked, curious despite himself. "Your mind, your hands, your will," Lyra said. "You survive by thinking, by building, by refusing to die. That is different from us. We survive because our bodies are made for this world. You survive because your species is clever." Ethan felt a strange warmth at her words, not the physical warmth she provided, but pride. For years he had been told humans were fragile in space, that other species had evolved to outmatch them in almost every way. And yet here he was, alive, dependent on an alien but surviving nonetheless. Lyra stepped closer, studying him more carefully. "Humans are unusual. Your species adapts quickly. You take what is broken and make it work again. That is why you are here. You are interesting." "Interesting?" Ethan repeated, raising an eyebrow. "I'm freezing, injured, stranded on a frozen planet, and interesting." Lyra laughed softly, a musical sound that echoed faintly against the cave walls. "Yes, interesting. You do not give up. You survive where others would perish. That is remarkable." Ethan blinked, unaccustomed to such praise. He had survived shipwrecks, space storms, even pirates. But no one had ever called him remarkable before. He felt a flicker of hope, a spark that made the cold and pain seem smaller. "Come," Lyra said, turning toward a deeper section of the cave. "You must eat. You need energy to recover fully. The storm is not over. We must prepare." Ethan followed, shivering slightly despite the warmth that radiated from her. The deeper cave walls were smooth, carved naturally by centuries of ice movement. Small glowing crystals reflected faint light, giving the cavern an ethereal feel. It was beautiful in a way Ethan had never imagined, like stepping into a world that existed entirely outside human understanding. Lyra guided him to a flat surface where she had placed several strange fruits and minerals. Ethan hesitated, unsure if it was safe. "Eat," she said, sensing his hesitation. "They are safe. You need sustenance." Ethan picked up one of the fruits. It was firm, slightly translucent, with a faint glow. He bit into it cautiously. The taste was sweet, almost like a mixture of honey and winter berries. Strength returned to his limbs and his shivers slowed. He ate more, feeling energy seep back into him. "You recover quickly," Lyra observed. "That is another reason humans survive. You endure pain and continue to act. Many creatures here would have frozen solid by now." Ethan smiled weakly. "I guess I've always been stubborn. Doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does." Lyra tilted her head again, her glowing eyes curious. "Your stubbornness is valuable. It may be your greatest weapon on this planet." Ethan considered her words. Perhaps this world was more dangerous than he realized. He had crashed, but he was still alive. That was something many explorers did not achieve. He had to learn quickly if he wanted to survive. After eating, Lyra led him further into the cave, past shimmering ice walls and small tunnels that twisted like frozen rivers. She stopped at a natural chamber where the temperature was slightly warmer. She sat on a smooth ice bench, gesturing for Ethan to sit. "You must understand your place here," she said, her tone serious now. "You are not like us. Your body is weak. Your species is fragile, but your mind is sharp. That is why you have survived." Ethan nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "So, you're saying I might survive if I use my brain instead of my body?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Exactly. Your species can achieve what others cannot because you adapt, create, and endure. You have survived a crash on a planet that kills most life. That is impressive." For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of pride in his humanity. He had always doubted himself, always believed that humans were outmatched in space exploration. But now, in this frozen alien world, he realized something important. Humans did not need to be the strongest. They needed to be clever, resourceful, and persistent. "I see," he said quietly. "So, it's not about being strong. It's about thinking, surviving, and adapting." "Correct," Lyra replied. "You will need to adapt. There are dangers here. Not all creatures are like me. Some are less forgiving. Ethan's curiosity grew. Less forgiving. Yes, she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. There are predators beneath the ice. Large, powerful, and intelligent. They are curious about humans and they are dangerous. You will need to learn quickly if you want to survive long-term. Ethan swallowed, feeling a shiver, not from cold but from the weight of her words. He had survived a ship crash and freezing temperatures, but now he faced something entirely different. A world filled with unknown predators, mysteries, and dangers. Yet he felt ready. For the first time, he wasn't just trying to survive the cold. He was determined to learn, to adapt, and to prove that humanity could thrive even here. Lyra watched him closely, her expression unreadable. "You are brave," she said finally. "But bravery alone will not keep you alive. You will need to use your mind, your hands, and your instincts. Humans have a unique combination of these traits. You will need them all." Ethan nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." For the next few hours, Lyra taught him small things: how to identify edible plants and minerals in the cave, how to navigate the ice tunnels safely, and how to conserve energy in extreme cold. Ethan listened, watched, and practiced. It was exhausting, but he learned quickly. Every small success made him feel more capable, more alive. By the end of the day, the storm outside had lessened slightly. Snow still fell, but it was no longer a blinding white rage. Ethan sat with Lyra near a warm glow she had produced, feeling stronger, safer, and curious. "Why help me?" he asked suddenly. "Why go to so much trouble for a human?" Lyra tilted her head. "Because you are interesting. You are not like other creatures here. You survive by thinking, not by instinct. That is rare. And because it is in my nature to help those who cannot help themselves." Ethan smiled faintly, a mix of gratitude and amazement. "I never thought I'd meet an alien, let alone one who saves me and teaches me to survive. This world, it's incredible." "It is," Lyra agreed. "But it is also dangerous. You have survived today, but tomorrow will be harder. You must prepare." Ethan nodded, determination in his eyes. He had come to this frozen world as a lone engineer, unsure if he would live through the night. But now, with the guidance of Lyra and a growing understanding of his own resilience, he felt hope. Humans could survive here. Humans could endure. Humans could adapt. And that knowledge, that spark of HFY spirit, filled him with strength stronger than any warmth Lyra could provide. Outside, the wind howled again, sweeping across the ice plains. But inside the cave, Ethan felt something new: possibility. The frozen world was harsh, alien, and unyielding, but he would survive. And maybe, just maybe, he could thrive. Ethan woke to a dim light that filtered through the ice walls of the cave. The chill in the air was still sharp, but the warmth from Lyra's presence made it bearable. For the first time since the crash, he felt alert rather than numb. His body ached, but his mind buzzed with curiosity. This world, frozen and alien, was nothing like anything he had ever seen, and the alien who had saved him was unlike anything he could have imagined. "Good morning," he said, rubbing his arms. "I feel better today." Lyra's golden eyes glimmered. "Your body recovers quickly, but you must learn to use your mind. That is your greatest strength. Physical weakness does not mean failure." Ethan nodded slowly, considering her words. She was right. Humans were not the strongest species in the universe, nor the fastest or the toughest. But humans had something else: ingenuity, problem-solving, and an ability to adapt. That had allowed him to survive countless dangers before, and now it would be the key to surviving here. "Teach me more," he said, "about this place, your people, everything." Lyra considered him carefully. "You are eager. That is good. Knowledge is more important than brute strength here. Follow me." She led him through the twisting tunnels of ice, deeper into the cavern system. Each turn revealed new wonders: walls shimmering with natural crystals, frozen streams that glowed faintly, and chambers filled with strange vegetation that thrived despite the cold. Ethan could not help but marvel. Humans had explored countless planets, but none like this, alive with strange beauty, dangerous yet captivating. "This world is alive," he said quietly. "Even the ice, it feels like it's moving, like it's breathing." Lyra nodded. "It is alive in a way. Our world has rhythms. It has dangers, but it also has life that thrives because it adapts. You will need to learn to see both if you are to survive." Ethan followed her, noticing small footprints in the ice, creatures that seemed tiny but left deep impressions. He stopped, crouching to examine them. "What made these?" he asked. Lyra glanced at them, her gaze sharp. "Small predators. They hunt for survival, as do all creatures here. Your species would be easy prey if not careful." Ethan swallowed. He was no stranger to danger, but this was different. On a frozen planet surrounded by unknown predators, every mistake could be fatal, and yet he felt a thrill. Humans did not give up when faced with impossible odds. They adapted, learned, and found solutions. As they walked, Lyra spoke of her people. "We do not fear cold. We do not need fire. Our bodies generate warmth naturally. Our society values knowledge, cooperation, and endurance. We survive by respecting the ice, not by fighting it." Ethan nodded. "So, your people live in harmony with this world, not against it." "Exactly," Lyra said. "But harmony requires intelligence. You must observe, understand, and act carefully. The ice is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. Every step must be measured." They reached a large chamber where the ice opened into a natural platform. Lyra gestured for Ethan to sit. "Here you will learn more about surviving outside the cave. You will need tools, energy, and knowledge." Ethan glanced around. "Tools? You mean like technology?" "Your species creates useful devices. That is why you are interesting," she said. "We have tools too, but they are simple. You must learn to combine your knowledge with what is available here. That will give you an advantage." For hours, Lyra taught him. She showed him which plants and crystals could provide nutrition, which minerals could be used to make small tools, and how to navigate safely through the ice tunnels. Ethan absorbed everything, his mind working quickly. Humans were quick learners, especially when survival was at stake. "You are learning fast," Lyra noted, her voice approving. "That is good. You must. Tomorrow we will venture outside the cave. You will see the world fully. You must be prepared." Ethan nodded, determination in his eyes. "I'm ready. I want to understand everything about this place. I want to survive, and maybe more than that." Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded slightly. "You have courage, but courage alone is not enough. Knowledge, observation, and quick thinking, those are what will keep you alive." As the day passed, Ethan experimented with small projects. Using broken parts from his ship and minerals he found in the ice, he created a basic heat reflector, a small device that could amplify Lyra's natural warmth. He tested it, adjusting angles and shapes. Each success brought a sense of accomplishment, a reminder that humans had a unique way of overcoming obstacles. "This is incredible," he said to Lyra. "I never imagined I could use ice and crystals to build something that actually helps me survive." Lyra smiled faintly. "Your creativity is your strength. That is what makes humans remarkable. We can endure, but you can create solutions. That is why you have survived this long." Ethan felt pride welling up inside him. He had faced freezing temperatures, a deadly storm, and now he was learning to navigate an alien world with only his wits and determination. For the first time since the crash, he felt capable, not just surviving but thriving in a small way. But Lyra was right, courage alone was not enough. He had to remain alert. The ice world was alive with predators and hidden dangers. Every tunnel could conceal a trap, every shimmering crystal could hide a creature waiting for prey. As night fell, Lyra prepared a small area for rest. Ethan lay down, feeling the warmth surrounding him once more. But sleep did not come easily. He thought about the world outside the cave, the predators Lyra had mentioned, and the challenges he would face tomorrow. He was frightened, but more than that, he was determined. "Ethan," Lyra said softly, her voice breaking into his thoughts, "do not think of fear as weakness. Fear is knowledge. It tells you where danger is, what to avoid, and how to act. Use it wisely and it will protect you." Ethan nodded. I will remember that." The night passed slowly, and Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. He imagined the vast ice plains, the glowing crystals, and the strange creatures that might lurk beneath the surface. He thought about his tools, his knowledge, and the lessons Lyra had taught him. Humans survived because they adapted. Humans survived because they refused to give up. By morning, Ethan was ready. He rose, feeling stronger than he had in days. Lyra stood nearby, her eyes glowing softly. "Today, you will see the world outside the cave. You will walk among the ice and snow, learn its secrets, and prove your ability to survive." Ethan took a deep breath, his nerves tingling. The frozen world stretched before him, harsh and beautiful, alive with danger and opportunity. He glanced at Lyra, feeling a strange sense of companionship. She had saved him, taught him, and now challenged him. "I'm ready," he said. "Let's go." Together they stepped out into the icy expanse. The wind cut sharply, but Ethan was prepared this time. He had warmth, knowledge, and determination. Every step was calculated, every movement cautious. And yet he felt exhilarated. The world around him was breathtaking. Jagged ice cliffs rose like frozen towers, and deep chasms glimmered with strange light. Small creatures darted across the ice, leaving patterns in the snow. The air was sharp and clean, carrying a scent that was alien but invigorating. "This world is incredible," Ethan said, voice filled with awe. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra nodded. "It is alive. It tests all who enter, but it also teaches. You will learn more than you imagine if you pay attention." As they moved further, Ethan noticed signs of danger, shallow cracks in the ice, shadows moving beneath the surface, and distant sounds that made him tense. His heart pounded, but his mind worked quickly. He spotted safe paths, areas to avoid, and ways to use the terrain to his advantage. Lyra observed silently, occasionally offering guidance. "Your instincts are good. You see what is hidden. That is rare for your species. Use it wisely." Hours passed, and Ethan's confidence grew. He was learning to read the ice, to anticipate dangers, and to adapt to challenges. For the first time since his crash, he felt a sense of mastery. Humans were not the strongest species, but they had endurance, ingenuity, and determination. That was enough to survive, even thrive, in a world as alien as this. By the time they returned to the cave, Ethan's body was exhausted, but his spirit was alive. He had faced the ice plains, learned to navigate the dangers, and discovered a new strength within himself. Lyra watched him with approval, her glowing eyes reflecting pride. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Tomorrow will be harder, but you are ready. Your mind is sharp, your instincts are improving, and your determination is strong. That is why humans survive." Ethan smiled faintly. He was no longer just a stranded engineer. He was a survivor, a learner, and a human capable of adapting to the unknown. And as the wind howled outside, he realized something powerful. Strength did not come from muscle or armor. Strength came from the mind, the will, and the courage to face the impossible. Humans could survive. Humans could endure. Humans could inspire, even on a frozen, alien world. The frozen world stretched endlessly before Ethan and Lyra as they moved farther from the cave. Snow blew in swirling patterns, and the ice reflected pale light like mirrors. Ethan had learned to read the terrain, noticing subtle changes that indicated crevices or hidden dangers. He had become careful, alert, and methodical, a human learning to survive in an alien environment. Lyra walked beside him, her golden eyes scanning the ice constantly. "The surface is safe," she said, her voice calm, "but there is danger beneath. You must not underestimate it." Ethan frowned. "Beneath," she nodded. "The predators live under the ice. They hunt for heat and movement. Most creatures avoid humans, but your kind is new here, curious. They will investigate. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had already seen signs of small predators, tiny footprints and fleeting shadows, but the thought of massive predators lurking beneath the ice made his skin crawl. He had survived storms, crashes, and extreme cold, but this was something different. Here the danger was hidden, intelligent, and patient. They reached a wide ice plain, stretching farther than Ethan could see. Jagged ice cliffs rose like frozen towers, and the wind whistled sharply through the valleys. Ethan scanned the ground, careful to step only on solid surfaces. "Why haven't the predators attacked yet?" he asked. "They are cautious," Lyra replied. "They can sense energy. They wait for mistakes. Humans are fragile but clever. That makes them interesting. They will not attack without reason." Ethan swallowed, feeling a mix of fear and determination. "Then we have to be careful. One wrong move could be fatal," Lyra finished for him. Hours passed as they traversed the icy terrain. Ethan was learning to anticipate subtle signs, slight shifts in the ice, tiny echoes, and shadows that moved independently of the wind. Lyra guided him, but allowed him to make decisions, teaching him to trust his instincts. Suddenly the ground trembled faintly beneath their feet. Ethan froze, glancing at Lyra. Her expression was serious. "They are near," she said. "Stay calm, observe, do not panic." Ethan's heart raced. He had trained for emergencies, but this was beyond anything he had encountered. He crouched slightly, moving slowly, scanning the ice. Small cracks appeared around them, spreading like spider webs. The vibrations were subtle but unmistakable. Something enormous was moving below. Then it came, an eruption of ice as a massive creature burst through the surface. Ethan stumbled back, stunned. The predator was unlike anything he had imagined, sleek, powerful, and terrifying. Its body glinted with frozen armor, and eyes that glowed faintly red scanned the world above. It sniffed the air, sensing movement, and let out a low, resonant growl. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He ducked behind a jagged ice formation, pulling out the small tools he had fashioned from ship parts and minerals. He had no weapons like a gun, only his ingenuity. But humans survived by thinking, not brute strength. He scanned the terrain, looking for anything to give him an advantage. Lyra stepped beside him, her glow intensifying. "Do not fight blindly," she said. "Observe, plan. Use the ice to your advantage." Ethan nodded, steadying his breath. He remembered the reflective crystals they had passed earlier. With careful precision, he repositioned them, angling the light from the sun and his own small heat devices to confuse the predator. The creature paused, tilting its head, uncertain. "That is clever," Lyra whispered, her eyes gleaming. "Humans are unpredictable." Ethan felt a surge of confidence. Humans had always survived by creating solutions when none existed. He adjusted more crystals, forming a path that would lead the predator away from them. The massive creature prowled, sensing the deception, but its size and instincts made it slow to respond. "Now," Lyra said softly, "move quickly." Ethan and Lyra darted across the ice, moving toward a narrow canyon they had scouted earlier. The predator followed, crashing through fragile ice formations, but the path was designed to slow it down. Chunks of ice tumbled into the crevices, creating obstacles. Ethan's heart pounded, but he stayed focused. They reached the canyon. The walls were steep, but the opening was narrow enough that the massive predator could not follow easily. Ethan climbed carefully, using his hands and feet to grip icy outcrops. Lyra moved beside him effortlessly, her warmth surrounding him, keeping his body from numbing in the cold. The predator reached the canyon's mouth, growling in frustration. Its massive body could not fit, and its red eyes glowed with intelligence. It circled the entrance, testing the ice, but Ethan's careful planning held. He realized something incredible. Humans had survived countless threats by thinking creatively, and now, in this alien world, that ingenuity had saved him once again. As the predator retreated, scanning the ice plain for other opportunities, Ethan collapsed against the canyon wall, gasping. Lyra knelt beside him, her glow soothing his exhausted body. "You survived," she said softly, "not by strength but by cleverness. That is why humans endure." Ethan smiled weakly, pride and relief washing over him. He had faced a predator that could crush him without effort, and yet he had survived. His ingenuity, combined with Lyra's guidance, had made the difference. "Thank you," he said, his voice trembling slightly. I didn't think I could do it." "You did," Lyra replied. "Because you are human, you do not give up. You adapt. You create solutions. That is why your species survives where others fail." Ethan felt a warmth beyond Lyra's natural heat, a warmth of accomplishment. Humans were fragile in many ways, but their greatest strength was their ability to think, to adapt, and to endure. They rested briefly, then moved to a safer part of the canyon. Lyra taught him more about the predators, their behavior, senses, and patterns. Ethan listened carefully, realizing that understanding was just as important as strength. The predators were dangerous, but predictable in ways that clever humans could exploit. "You must remember," Lyra said, "we live in balance with this world. Predators are not evil, they are necessary. But humans, your species can survive because you can think beyond instinct." Ethan nodded. "So, survival isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding and using knowledge." "Exactly," Lyra said. "That is your greatest weapon." As night fell, the ice world became quieter, the predators retreating beneath the frozen surface. Ethan and Lyra returned to the cave, exhausted but alive. The events of the day had tested him in ways no training could replicate, yet he had survived. More importantly, he had learned the truth about human resilience. Strength was not always physical. It was mental, creative, and relentless. Inside the cave, Ethan sat near the warmth Lyra radiated, reflecting on the day. He had faced a predator that could have ended his life with ease, yet he had survived through quick thinking, observation, and collaboration with an alien being. The HFY principle had never been clearer. Humans endured not because they were strongest, but because they adapted, learned, and used their ingenuity. Lyra observed him silently, her golden eyes glimmering. "Tomorrow, the ice will test you further," she said. "You will need to apply everything you have learned, but today you have proven yourself. You are clever, resourceful, and resilient. That is why humans endure." Ethan nodded, feeling a surge of pride. He had started as a stranded human, vulnerable and weak. But now, under Lyra's guidance, he had become something more. A survivor, a thinker, and a human capable of thriving even in an alien world. As he drifted into sleep, he felt a strange sense of belonging. This frozen, alien world was harsh and dangerous, but he had faced its deadliest predator and lived. With knowledge, creativity, and determination, he realized humans could survive anywhere, even in a place where nature seemed determined to destroy them. Outside, the wind howled across the ice plains. Beneath the frozen surface, predators waited, curious and patient. But Ethan was ready. The human spirit, resilient and clever, had found a way to endure. And with Lyra's guidance, he would continue to learn, adapt, and survive in this world that had once seemed impossible. The frozen plains of the alien world stretched endlessly, glimmering under the faint light of a distant sun. Ethan moved carefully, his eyes scanning every ridge and crevice. After days in the ice, he was beginning to understand the subtle rhythms of this harsh planet. The way the wind shifted, the quiet signs of predators beneath the surface, and the hidden paths that could lead to safety. He had survived storms and predators, but now something new awaited him, a world that was beginning to take notice of the human who dared to endure. Lyra walked beside him, her warm glow steady and comforting. "They are talking about you," she said, her golden eyes fixed on the horizon. "Talking?" Ethan asked, puzzled. "Who?" "Other clans of my people," Lyra explained. "They have heard of what you did with the predator. Humans are unusual, but your cleverness has spread quickly. Many are curious, some are afraid. Ethan felt a thrill of both pride and anxiety. He had survived by using his wits, yet he had done nothing extraordinary beyond what humans often did: adapt, observe, and think quickly. But now, in this alien society, his actions were being noticed. Survival had become more than a personal challenge. It had become a reputation. As they approached a larger ice settlement, Ethan noticed small figures observing them from the distance. The alien residents were cautious, their glowing eyes flicking with curiosity and caution. They had heard the story. A human had outwitted a predator that had terrorized the ice plains for generations. That was remarkable, almost unbelievable. "Stay close to me," Lyra advised. "You must show them respect, but also courage. Humans are strange to them and some may test you." Ethan nodded. He had faced physical danger, but this social test was new. Survival in a world like this required more than cleverness. It required understanding, patience, and diplomacy. As they entered the settlement, the aliens gathered, watching silently. Their expressions were unreadable, their bodies radiating warmth in different degrees. Ethan felt a mix of fear and determination. He knew that humans survived in part because they could communicate, persuade, and inspire trust. Now he would need all those skills. One elder, taller and more radiant than the others, stepped forward. Her eyes glowed with a calm, intense light. "You are the human who survived the hunt," she said, her voice resonating in the icy air. "Our people have watched. Tell us, how did you endure?" Ethan swallowed. He could have bragged, but he knew that honesty and humility would carry more weight. "I observed," he said. "I learned. I worked with Lyra to use what was around us. I did not rely on strength. I relied on understanding and planning." The elder nodded slowly. "You are clever, human. That is unusual. Most creatures do not think beyond instinct. You do. That is why you survive where others perish." Ethan felt a surge of pride tempered by awareness. This recognition was not just personal, it was a bridge between species. Humans could not only endure this world, they could influence it, inspire it, and perhaps even shape it. The crowd murmured, a low hum of approval and curiosity. Lyra stood by him, her glow steady. "You have earned respect today," she said softly, "but do not become complacent. The ice world always tests those who rise above others." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I will stay alert." For the rest of the day, Ethan moved through the settlement with Lyra, learning more about the alien society. Their culture valued knowledge, observation, and cooperation. They respected those who could endure hardship, solve problems, and adapt. The more Ethan learned, the more he realized that humans shared similar values: curiosity, ingenuity, and resilience. These qualities, often underestimated by stronger or faster species, were the true keys to survival. By nightfall, Ethan and Lyra returned to the cave, weary but determined. Outside, the ice plains were quiet, but he knew that danger always lurked beneath the surface. Predators had not forgotten him, and the alien society continued to watch, evaluating his every move. As they rested, Lyra spoke. "Tomorrow, you will face new challenges. There are other threats beyond the predators: environmental hazards, rival clans, and unexpected storms. Your ingenuity will be tested further." Ethan listened carefully. Each day had taught him that survival was not just about reacting. It was about anticipating, learning, and creating solutions before disaster struck. Humans had endured countless worlds, and now he was seeing why. The ability to adapt, to think ahead, and to cooperate gave them an advantage that brute strength could not match. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed across the plains. Ethan sat up, alert. Lyra's glow intensified and she moved closer. "The ice shifts," she said. "Something is coming, you must be ready." From the distance, shadows began to move beneath the ice, larger than before, faster and more intelligent. The predators were investigating, drawn by energy, curiosity, and perhaps even fear. Ethan's heart raced, but he remembered Lyra's lessons. Observe, plan, use the environment, adapt. He moved carefully, positioning himself near reflective crystals and natural ice formations. Lyra followed, her glow guiding him, keeping him warm and enhancing his awareness. The massive predators approached, their movements deliberate. They paused, sensing, calculating, waiting for a mistake. Ethan took a deep breath, steadying his mind. He could survive this. Humans had survived worse, and he had knowledge, preparation, and creativity on his side. He adjusted the crystals and his small devices, forming paths and barriers to confuse the predators. The creatures circled, investigating, but Ethan's strategy held. His understanding of the terrain, combined with clever positioning and timing, forced the predators to hesitate. One by one, they retreated beneath the ice, unable to reach him or Lyra. Lyra's eyes gleamed. "You did well. Humans survive not because of strength, but because of the mind. You have proven it again today." Ethan felt exhaustion, but also exhilaration. He had faced intelligent predators, environmental hazards, and the scrutiny of an alien society, and survived. His ingenuity, combined with human resilience, had once more triumphed. The next day, news of his survival spread further. More alien clans came to observe, their curiosity and respect growing. Ethan realized that humans could not only survive in this frozen world, they could earn influence and trust. Cleverness, courage, and adaptability were qualities that transcended species. Over the following days, Ethan continued to learn and teach. He shared his observations with Lyra, helping her people understand small details that even their sharp senses missed. In return, he learned more about their culture, their techniques, and the subtle rhythms of the ice. Together, they formed a partnership built on trust, knowledge, and mutual respect. Ethan began to see a larger picture. Humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most naturally adapted, but they were inventive, resilient, and relentless. That was why they survived, and why they could influence a world as harsh and alien as this one. As he settled near the warmth of Lyra's glow that night, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. He had started as a stranded human, weak and vulnerable. Now he was a survivor respected by an alien society and a symbol of ingenuity and courage. The ice world was harsh, but he had adapted. He had learned. He had thrived. Outside, the wind swept across the plains, and beneath the ice, predators watched and waited. But humans had endured, and Ethan knew that with knowledge, determination, and the ability to adapt, he could survive whatever this world, or the universe, threw at him next. For the first time since his crash, he felt not just hope, but purpose. Humans could endure, inspire, and thrive in the most unlikely places. And with allies like Lyra, he knew he could help bridge the gap between species, showing that resilience, intelligence, and courage were universal strengths, qualities that could change even the coldest, most alien world. The distant sun rose over the frozen plains, casting long, sparkling shadows across the ice. Ethan stood near the entrance of the cave, looking out over the vast alien landscape. He had grown stronger, more confident, and far more knowledgeable in the days since his crash. Every challenge, storm, predator, and alien society had tested him, and he had survived, thrived, and learned. Beside him, Lyra glowed softly, her warmth seeping into his tired muscles. She had become more than a guide or a savior. She was a companion, a teacher, and a friend. Ethan's mind raced with thoughts of the future. Could humans coexist with this world? Could they learn from it as he had? And most importantly, what did he truly want? Survival had once been his only goal. Now, choices stretched before him like the endless ice plains. A low rumble echoed from the horizon. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. This time, it was not a predator or storm. A human rescue ship appeared in the sky, small and distant at first, then growing larger as it descended toward the ice. Lights blinked across its hull, and the sound of thrusters vibrated through the ice beneath his feet. Ethan felt a strange mixture of relief and uncertainty. He had been stranded for days, but now the universe had sent help. Rescue was finally here. Yet as he glanced at Lyra, he felt a pang of hesitation. He had survived because of her. He had learned, grown, and changed. Leaving now would mean stepping away from the world that had taught him so much, and from the alien who had become indispensable to him. Lyra noticed his hesitation. "You see them," she said softly. "Your people have come for you." Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, but I don't know if I want to leave, not yet." Lyra tilted her head, her golden eyes calm. "You have changed this world, human. You have survived where others would fail. You have shown my people that courage, intelligence, and determination matter more than strength alone. That is a gift. You can leave or you can stay and continue to help. The choice is yours." Ethan looked out at the ice plains, thinking of the predators, the clans, and the lessons he had learned. Humans survived because they adapted, solved problems, and inspired others. Here, in this alien world, he had done exactly that. But he had a duty to his own people as well, his family, his colleagues, and the universe that would now expect him back. The rescue ship landed with a gentle thud, steam and snow swirling around its hull. A ramp lowered, and human figures appeared, calling out his name. Ethan's heart ached with longing and responsibility. He could feel the warmth of home calling him, but he also felt the bond with this alien world and with Lyra pulling him in another direction. He turned to Lyra. I don't want to leave this place behind." "Not the lessons, not the people, and not you." Lyra's eyes softened. "Then you must decide what is more important, returning to your world or shaping this one. Both paths are valid, both will test you, both will change you." Ethan took a deep breath. His life had been one of exploration, challenges, and survival. He had faced impossible odds and overcome them. Humans thrived not because they were the strongest, they thrived because they faced challenges and adapted. And now he realized he could face this challenge too, choosing between two worlds, two futures, and two lives forever changed. The human rescue team called again, their voices growing closer. Ethan knew time was short. He turned to Lyra, feeling gratitude and admiration. "Thank you for everything. You taught me more than I ever imagined. You showed me that survival isn't just about strength, it's about the mind, the heart, and the courage to endure." Lyra's glow brightened slightly, a gesture that felt almost like a smile. "You have learned quickly, human. That is why you are remarkable. Remember this. Humans endure because they create solutions, because they care, and because they never give up. That is why your species inspires, even on worlds that are not your own." Ethan looked back at the approaching ship. His hand hovered near the communicator, ready to signal that he was returning. He could go home, tell the story, and share the knowledge he had gained, but his heart hesitated. The alien world, its lessons, and Lyra's companionship had become a part of him. Could he abandon it all? Then a thought struck him. Humans survived not by following the easy path, but by forging new ones. They adapted. They changed the worlds they touched. And perhaps here he could do the same. He stepped forward, his decision forming with clarity. He would return with the rescue team, but not just as a survivor. He would return as a bridge between species, a messenger of knowledge and resilience. He would share what he had learned, showing humanity's potential and the lessons this frozen world had taught him. And he would return someday to continue learning and helping Lyra and her people. Ethan signaled the rescue team. "I'm coming," he said firmly. "But I won't forget what I've learned here." The team approached, cautious but relieved to see him alive. They helped him aboard the ship, and as he moved, he felt Lyra's warmth wrap around him one last time. Not just heat, but trust, respect, and a bond that transcended worlds. "Farewell for now," Lyra said softly. "You have changed this world, human, and you will continue to change others. Never forget what you have learned." Ethan nodded, tears forming at the edges of his eyes. "I won't, I promise." As the ship lifted off, Ethan gazed down at the frozen world below. The ice cliffs shimmered, the plains stretched endlessly, and tiny predators scurried beneath the surface, still curious, still cautious. He had survived storms, predators, and alien society. He had endured. He had adapted, and he had inspired. Inside the ship, Ethan sat beside the communicator, documenting everything. Every lesson, every observation, every moment of ingenuity and survival. He knew that humanity could learn from this world, and that they could survive even the most alien environments if they applied their intelligence, creativity, and courage. Days passed as the ship traveled through space, and Ethan reflected on his journey. He thought of Lyra, of the predators of the ice plains, and of the alien clans who had begun to respect and trust him. He realized that humans were not merely survivors, they were changers, creators, and inspirers. Finally, the ship approached a familiar space station orbiting a nearby planet. Ethan's heart raced with anticipation. Home was near, yet he knew that a part of him would always belong to the frozen world and the alien who had taught him its secrets. He had been a visitor, a survivor, and now a witness to the extraordinary potential of humanity. As he prepared to step onto the station, he made a silent promise. He would continue to learn, to teach, and to inspire. He would never forget the warmth of Lyra, the lessons of the ice, or the courage it took to endure. Humans were fragile, but brilliant, determined, and endlessly creative. That was why they endured. Ethan took one last look at the stars, thinking of the frozen world below. One day he would return, but for now he carried its lessons with him, a reminder that survival was not enough. Humans could thrive, change worlds, and inspire even the most alien of beings. And with that thought, he stepped forward, ready to face the universe again, not just as a survivor, but as a human capable of enduring, inspiring, and thriving wherever the stars might lead him.